While most of America has accepted the new reality of social distancing during the global COVID-19 pandemic, three churches in Southern California are suing Governor Gavin Newsom and other state officials. The suit alleges that social distancing executive orders violate the First Amendment right to freedom of religion and assembly. The churches argue that the state and local orders are overly broad and that they can practice safe social distancing in the same manner as grocery stores and other outlets that are considered essential. One of the suit's plaintiffs is James Moffett, a senior pastor at Church Unlimited. Moffett was fined $1,000 for violating Riverside County's order by holding a Palm Sunday service. Moffett said he, quote, believes that Scripture commands him as a pastor to lay hands on people and pray for them. This includes the sick, end quote. Personally, I believe that the stay-at-home orders do not violate the First Amendment right to freedom of religion and assembly. Services are still able to be held, just in new and different ways. For example, for Easter Sunday, many Catholic churches broadcast the church service over the radio and invited the congregation to drive to the church's parking lot, remain in their vehicles, and listen to the service. Even though congregants were not in the actual church, they were on church grounds, assembling for religious purposes, so I do not think the stay-at-home orders violate the right to religious assembly.
Since the COVID-19 pandemic, there have been multiple changes within everyday life, especially with college students. Schools across America have closed their campuses and changed all curriculum to online, including our very own Lynn University. Students were informed that residence halls would be closing to accommodate the health and government authorities, and since then, their lives have been thrown into chaos. Having to quickly return to their homes and with the nation frantically on lockdown, students have had to adjust in little to no time to online schooling, with lectures through conference call sites such as Amazon Chime and Zoom. As both students and faculty continue to persevere through this difficult time, there has recently been another important change in the curriculum: how students will be graded this semester. Students have been given the option to receive either a pass or fail grade in whichever course they desire. This is important because with all the changes students have gone through this semester, there is no telling how this stress can affect their grades and work ethic. I support this decision because it shows students that their well-being is important enough to play a role in their academics. I hope all students at Lynn University and other schools given this option use their opportunity wisely. I'm Shelby Olivier Smith for iPulse News.
Hello, my name is Sofia Sokolova and this is iChat. Recently, Russian independent bank Sberbank sold over 50% of the bank's entire pool of voting shares to the Russian government for $27 billion. A CEO of Sberbank, German Graf, said, "I would like to thank the Central Bank of Russia for its extremely positive contribution for the development of Sberbank as its largest shareholder, and I welcome the National Wealth Fund of Russia, represented by the Ministry of Finance of Russia, as the new shareholder." Interesting situation, and I don't like it. It happening at the same time when the world is on the edge of crisis. Instead of helping people remove or limited taxes, the government buys stocks and trying to basically steal money from its own citizens. iPulse believes that the Russian government shouldn't have bought these stocks. This corruption should be punished and stopped. The government must help its citizens instead of destroying their lives. I'm Sofia Sokolova and this is iChat.
Renowned disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci has come under criticism in recent weeks after comments came out stating he wanted to enforce stricter social distancing guidelines in February to prevent mass spread of coronavirus.
But the administration didn't announce such guidelines to the American public until March 16th, almost a month later. Why?
You know, Jake, as I've said many times, we look at it from a pure health standpoint. We make a recommendation. Often the recommendation is taken. Sometimes it's not. But it is what it is. We are where we are right now.
Do you think lives could have been saved if social distancing, physical distancing, stay-at-home measures had started third week of February instead of mid-March?
You know, Jake, again, it's the what would have, what could have. It's very difficult to go back and say that. I mean, obviously, you could logically say that if you had a process that was ongoing and you started mitigation earlier, you could have saved lives. Obviously, no one is going to deny that. But what goes into those kinds of decisions is complicated. But you're right. I mean, obviously, if we had, right from the very beginning, shut everything down, it may have been a little bit different. But there was a lot of pushback about shutting things down back then.
Fauci received heavy criticism for his comments from Republican congressional candidate Deanna Lorraine. The White House has since come out and said it is ridiculous to think Dr. Fauci would be fired after these comments were made, which personally is very reassuring. President Trump obviously should not have retweeted something that was supporting the movement to fire Fauci in the first place. Dr. Fauci is an invaluable asset to this nation right now. He's the nation's leading and most thoughtful expert when it comes to fighting coronavirus. Reporting for iPulse News, I'm Brian Ryder.
Over 500,000 people in the United States use a service dog. When people think of service dogs, most people picture a blind person, someone in a wheelchair, or a person with severe visible disabilities. However, that is not always the case. Not every person who requires a service dog has a visible disability. The young people seen in these photos all have a legitimate disability that cannot be seen. Yet people often think these people are faking their disability. Take, for instance, a soldier with a legitimate PTSD. You would not know by looking at them that they have PTSD, but the dog knows.
In many psychological and physical disorders, you cannot see the heart's nervous system or brain. You cannot see if a person has epilepsy or a fainting disorder, but dogs can. These dogs are trained to detect and recognize a multitude of symptoms and signs, such as a leg starting to shake and other nervous systems, such as a hand repeatedly rubbing on a leg. iPulse believes if you see a service dog and their handler, leave the team alone. Unless the dog is clearly uncontrollable or is causing a scene, you cannot be sure if the dog is a real service dog or not. Give the team the benefit of the doubt. I'm Veronica Chichovska.